Welcome to the Inside Story, a behind-the-scenes look at what's happening here at Andrew Wommack Ministries. And now, here's Andrew.
Welcome to another Inside Story. I tell you, this is a special program where we just share things with you that really we don't take a lot of time on our television program to let you know about. And so this is the Inside Story. It's what's going on behind the scenes. And there is so much that God is doing through our ministry that people just wouldn't know about any other way. So I've really enjoyed these Inside Stories. Today, I've got as my guest Dr. Barry Burns, and he's a good friend. He pastors in Johnson City, Tennessee.
Right.
And he and his wife, Ann, I met you guys when?
Well, we first met 1985.
And that was, I think, in Albuquerque.
That was in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
I was at Marshall Townsley's church.
Right.
He was a guy that we came out of the same Baptist church together, and they were holding an ICFCM meeting.
That's
and
right.
You were the...
I was the national director.
National director.
For him, yeah. And we met through our mutual friend, Dave Duell.
Yeah.
And Dave introduced me to you, and you were my big challenge. I was going to get you to join ICFM. And you were my first failure.
That's right.
And I think I went home and quit, right?
I think you did. But you know, I had an aversion towards ministers' meetings or ministers' associations because like with ICFCM,
Yeah.
I tried to join it and you wouldn't accept me because I wasn't recognized by a licensed or some kind of an established
Right.
deal.
Yeah.
And so you didn't recognize my ordination. And because I wasn't a part of ICFCM, you wouldn't let me speak. It was like, you know, it was like a club, and unless you're a part of the club, and so I just didn't like it, and I never did join, and you quit not long
No,
ago.
I did.
But anyway, the reason I have Dr. Burns on is because we have now started a ministers association that we call the Association of Related Ministries International, and for short, we call it ARMI. And I am really excited about this. Before I get into talking about exactly what ARMI is and what it has to offer, we meant that one time, but how did we really connect?
Well, we reconnected back in February of 2002. My wife, Ann, had come under vicious attack in her body, physically. And we called to see if you would allow us to come out here for you and Jamie to pray and minister to Ann. So we did.
She had seen me on TV. I remember I was in Tulsa when she called.
Right.
And I talked to her, and I was making a statement that you can make healing manifest.
Right.
It's not just a matter of sitting and Ann, I love Ann. I know you love her, but I love that woman. Yeah. And she is as strong as 10 acres of garlic.
She is.
And man, when she came out and we prayed with her, I think we spent like, I don't know, 4 or 5 days.
We did. We spent 4 or 5 days here. And it was wonderful. And the outcome was marvelous because she was totally healed.
Totally
Every
healed.
symptom left her body.
She didn't go the medical route.
Nope,
she just trusted God. And I mean, she was healed of severe things, life-threatening.
Yes, oh yeah. She was, the devil was trying to take her out for sure.
Yeah.
And the amazing thing is that she wouldn't even voice.
No.
She wouldn't even tell out of her mouth what it was that she had been afflicted.
One of the ways I minister to people, I ask them if they have any pain, do you have any problems? For the purpose of when I pray for them, then if the pain leaves, if there's a lessening of the pain of the symptoms, well, then that's encouraging.
Right.
So I would constantly be asking Ann, so do you have any pain? And she just would
She wouldn't
not.
say.
I was with her 4 days, and I never got that woman to say anything. And it was hard on me because I said, look, Ann, I'm not going to agree that this is what's going to happen. I just want to know what you're feeling. She wouldn't give the devil an inch.
She wouldn't give him an ounce of credit, no.
And anyway, it worked.
It worked.
She got
really
healed.
Did.
And so I really respect her. And after we reconnected through this, then when I go to Charlotte every year in September, I started going to your church.
You did, right. You started coming to our church.
And you know, Charlotte is a 5 or 6 days, and usually I don't stay gone at one church that long. And then yours was tacked on. So it made it like a 10-day deal.
Right.
And I really, after 2 or 3 years, I canceled and said I can't come. And you guys were very gracious and said that's okay. But after 1 year of not being at your church, you're the only church I have ever called in my 46 years of ministry and asked if I could come. Because I miss being with you guys. You got a great church.
Well, we enjoy having you.
And so I asked if I could come back. And I've been going there for many years.
For many years now. That's right.
And I really love it.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's kind of the background about how we met. And of course, you have a doctor's degree. It's
Yes,
not
I do.
It's not an honorary degree.
No,
You
it's
actually
not.
earned yours.
Yes, I did. I have an undergraduate degree in engineering, and then I went to moved to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, to be an engineer there for Western Electric at their engineering facility right across the street from Wake Forest University. And while I was there, I started going to graduate school, working on an MBA. And then in August of 1975, the Lord instructed Ann and I to move back to Johnson City and to start a New Testament church there with a friend of ours, Rodney Lloyd. And so in obedience to the Lord, we moved back. Ann was pregnant. Our dog was in heat. We owed everybody in the country. Our family thought we had lost our minds. You know, here we quit a perfectly good job, and we moved back, and this is this great adventure of faith. And I remember that they gave us a severance package when I left, and we took all that money. And Kenneth Copeland and Kenneth Hagin both were in Birmingham, Alabama at the same time, ministering in the same meeting. And so we took all of our friends and paid their way, bought all their hotel, all their food, and Ann and I went. A bunch of them got filled with the Holy Ghost, and that was really the beginning of our walk with God in the ministry. And so we have been partners in marriage and partners as husband and wife and father. And now we just had our 7th little grandbaby last week. And our son Andrew and Jamie had a little girl. And,
that's unusual. Yeah. His son Andrew and his wife's name is Jamie. It's the only other Andrew and Jamie I know.
Yeah. So anyway, we have number 7, and it's all exciting. So we've been partners. And then come August of 2015 will be our 40th year in the ministry.
Wow.
And so we moved back in obedience to the Lord and not really knowing what we were going to do. But then later I took all the master's hours that I had at University of North Carolina and used them to finish a master's and a doctoral program at Bethany Theological Seminary. So anyway, at that time, back in the early 80s, that was the only thing that was available. Uh-huh. So it was I wanted to do something with it rather than lose them. So here I am.
So I have had people for years, decades probably, ask me to start a ministerial association and do things. And I am not opposed to the concept, but I was opposed to the way that I saw them functioning. Because primarily every minister's group that I had ever seen was all about just fellowship primarily and maybe a little bit of networking. You get to know some people, and even though there is value to that, because I've pastored and I've been by myself and felt alone, and so there is value to that. But I felt like that a minister's association ought to be much more than just fellowship and networking. And as our ministry grew, we kept having people ask us about, would you start something? Could we be a part of something that's associated with you? And as our ministry grew, we now through Charis Bible College and with our ministry has grown, you know, to where it's a $40 million a year ministry, 300 employees. Our school is reaching people, and we now have resources that could really benefit pastors and help them. And so I began to start being more receptive, but I didn't have a clue how to do it. And part of your background is that you actually helped, I believe, start the ICFM organization. And that was a faith-based thing under what, Hagin? Copeland?
No, well, actually, Buddy Harrison was kind of the originator of it. And I flew out to Tulsa there near Oral Roberts University, and we met in a hotel. And we kicked around the idea of starting something that we could bring together ministers of like faith and that we could encourage one another. And so we did. We started ICFM, and I served as their national director, heading all their U.S. operation. And so that was a wonderful experience for me. But I never left that desire to really see ministers strengthened and help, never left. And so in September 2011, when you came to our church and we had lunch, we talked about this issue.
Well, I had been thinking about it. And with knowing your background with ICFM, I thought, man, here's a wealth of experience. And so I just threw this out to you. And I think it was 4 hours later when I got to say a word. It was just like somebody lit a fire under you.
I know. And this is exciting.
It's a desire that you've had for, I guess, decades.
Exactly.
To be able to minister to ministers. Right. And so we talked about this, and that was, when was it?
And that was in September 2011. But then in July 2012, I came out and we met here in Colorado Springs.
I remember I was working on building a shop at my house.
Yes, you were.
And during that time, I just kept thinking about who could we get to do this. And even though you had a church that you'd been pastor of for 30 plus years, and you had a full ministry, I just kept feeling like Barry's the guy for this. And so I just called you out of the blue, and then you came out.
I came out.
2012.
Right.
And I believe that this is really something that is a fulfillment of what you've had in your heart for a very
not
long
only
time.
me, but you as well. And I remember that first meeting that I told you that I did not believe that there was a single ministry in America better positioned to take the experience and the expertise of the staff of Andrew Womack Ministries and Cares Bible College, and not only that, but then a pool of business and ministry professionals out there around the country, and mobilize all of that to bring blessing to those people in ministry. And so that we set about to do that very thing. This ARMI is not about us, but it's all about our dedication to help these ministers out there fulfill their highest calling in God, and to encourage them and strengthen them, because as you travel, I hear a lot of angst and a lot of people that are frustrated. They want their ministries to grow. They sense that there's much more potential that they have to deliver, but they just don't really have the skill sets to make it work. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to take this blessing. Matter of fact, right in our ARMI brochure, we have as our vision to help ministers fulfill their God-given purpose and finish their course in the Lord with joy. And so we want to provide encouragement through relationship with one another. We want to support people through continuing education programs. We want to train people in the various kind of workshops, professional workshop, leadership workshops, that sort of thing. And then down the road, long-term wise, we want to provide some really specific services to help people who are serving ministry. So we have a grand vision of what we want to do.
Well, I want to get into more specifics about some of this, but first of all, let me just say that you touched on this, but most of these ministers' organizations, regardless of how they start, it basically winds up that you come to a conference and you help that ministry reach out and do something. And in a sense, you're using these pool of preachers to benefit the ministry.
The ministry, right.
And our concept here is to honestly, it's not about me. I don't need something else to do. You don't need something else to do. Both of us are full-time what we're doing. But we want to take ministers and pour into them and live in a sense vicariously through them, help them to reach out and reach their full potential. So this is one of the fundamental differences is we aren't trying to draw these ministers together so that we can receive from them, but rather that we could give to them.
Give to them.
And be a blessing. Yeah. So let's talk about some of the specifics. You rattled off some things there real quickly. Expound on some of these things. What are the services that we are going to provide that will help a ministry?
I'd be glad to talk about that. You know, one of the things that we really, in our last conference that we had here in Colorado Springs, and that was in February 4th, 5th, and 6th of 2014, we had a grand time. We had a workshop format during the morning, in which we had 3 morning workshops and then 3 afternoon workshops, and then you ministered in the workshop sessions, the nighttime session, and it was a tremendous time. And we had so many testimonies of people that were really helped through that workshop format. So what we decided to do is we're going to take that on the road. So we're going to be holding several workshop meetings. We have 2 that we have scheduled. One.
Before you get into the details of that, who was in these workshops? Because I think that is significant.
Oh, as far as participants?
Yeah, in February. Who were some of these speakers?
Well, we had, let's see, who all did we have?
Dean Radke is one I was thinking of.
Yeah, that
now, Dean Radke, for those that don't know, This guy took Avon from a mom and pop organization to one of the world's largest. He took the Limited from 160 stores to the largest retailer in the world.
Exactly.
And this is the quality of leadership, and he just poured himself into it. And did you know, I don't know how much you know about all of this, but that lit a fire on the inside of me. And since then, our whole ministry philosophy of organization and stuff has totally changed. And Dean Ratke has been a vital part of it.
Wow.
And so here we had this guy who, I don't even know what he charges, but it's tens of thousands of dollars a day to come in and train these executives. And we had that resource available to all of these pastors.
Yeah. And it was a really exciting time, because I know that all the comments about the participants afterwards they were blown away. Mm-hmm. It was absolutely amazing. We had Dwayne Sheriff, who spoke, and he's always a powerful speaker, and that was tremendous. Paul Milligan, always good as well. I spoke about learning to think and plan and act strategically. Mm-hmm. And a lot of mine were a message was targeted to pastors. But our organization is not just limited to pastors, but we have chaplains, we have counselors, we have people in music ministry, we have people in praise and worship. Any licensed or ordained minister.
Yeah, one of the reasons for that is because these ministers' organizations, it's all geared towards pastors, and I've never been one of the ones that they sought.
I know.
And yet I'm in full-time ministry.
Yeah, exactly.
So we reflect that. We bring in people who are youth ministers, praise and worship, whatever.
Right. And not only that, even business people who are serving God in the marketplace, who are licensed and or ordained, there are a number of them. Yep. Paul Milligan raising up the business school right here at CBC. What a better way for a person to fulfill a called ministry, and that would be right out there in the workplace. Mm-hmm. And so we offer many workshops that are geared for people that are in business. So we've really tried to broad base our appeal to people across the board.
And so this was so successful that you're beginning to do regional
yes, we are.
Conferences.
Yes,
Explain
yes,
that. What happens there?
And we have our very first one, August the 12th. It's going to be there at the Dallas Marriott Las Colinas. And we've got Jeremy Pearsons is going to be one of our workshop speakers, and he and his wife, Sarah, have been in ministry.
That's the grandson of Kenneth Copeland?
Of Kenneth Copeland.
He's a powerful minister.
He is, right. And in 2010, they formed Pearson's Ministries International, and he's going to be doing back-to-back workshop sessions on who cares about your ministry. And it's going to be terrific. You wait and see. And then Greg Moore, who's the Dean of Education right here at Charis Bible College, he's going to be ministering. He'll be doing 2 sessions. I'll do 2 sessions. And so we've got a wide variety of things that we want to offer for people. That's in Dallas in August. And then we have another one that's going to be in October, and it's going to be at the Atlanta Crown Plaza Hotel there at the Perimeter Mall. And Bishop Kenneth Fuller is going to be speaking, and he is the head of Creflo Dollar's Ministerial Association. And so he is going to be ministering. It's going to be powerful, equipped by grace.
Yeah, I've got to know Kenneth and being at Creflo's place, and he's a godly man.
He is.
And Creflo has a huge ministry, and he couldn't do it without people like Kenneth and all of these people on staff. So I think it's going to be a great perspective to see, kind of the support systems and how you get this done.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Which a lot of these pastors don't have that.
Right.
And I think it'll put a vision on the inside of them and make a big difference in their ministry.
I do too. So we're excited about where we see the ministry going and how we're going to be reaching out to people and what we think the future holds. We're really excited about that. And so we have some focused, targeted ways that we want to help reach people. Only one of those are these workshop sessions. We have some other things down the road that we have planned that we want to do that really bring people together and help knit people. Ministers, the one thing about being a pastor, as I well know, is that you can't take your problems or your cares to people that are in your own church. Mm-hmm. And so literally, oftentimes the only avenue that we have to vent and to receive help and encouragement and strengthening is by other ministers. Mm-hmm. And so you have to go outside the church, and oftentimes to get help, prayer, support. Ministers, they just go all the time. And so you often find yourself in a spiritual deficit. You just run out of gas. You need encouragement. You need build up. And so we want to provide a vehicle whereby that we can reach out to those people, bring them together, strengthen them, train them. You know, if I can touch a pastor or the head of a ministry, we can touch hundreds or thousands of people that they minister to.
Yeah, I love ministering to ministers because, man, it's just like you said, you're reaching so many people.
Exactly.
Plus, as you were also alluding to, ministers don't really have someplace else to go. They don't have a pastor.
They really don't.
To go to. So this ministerial association is a way to build relationships, to network. But we have these workshops. We also, you mentioned continuing education for ministers.
Yes.
You might explain that.
Now, we do have a continuing education program that we have put together that is a powerful thing. It's the first year and second year program. Van and Regina Smith in Atlanta put this thing together, and it is a program where that through correspondence, you do it at home, because most ministers can't leave their ministry and move here to Colorado Springs or now Woodland Park and go to school. So we have a program that allows those that qualify under certain criteria, that they're already licensed or ordained, that they can take that combination first and second year program and actually graduate from Charis Bible College as if they went on campus. And being an ARMI member, you get a substantial discount for taking that program. And it really is a way in which you can continue your education. You know, doctors have continuing education programs, attorneys have continuing education programs, but ministers have literally nothing. And so what we want to do is to provide a way that you can be a lifelong learner. Yeah. And I think one of the ways that we can do that is through these programs and other courses and programs that we'll develop in the future.
And we've had a number of ministers already graduate from this. And so with their life experience, we give them credit. And in 1 year of correspondence, they basically get a 2-year degree.
They do.
They can also be licensed and ordained through the ministry and start receiving benefits of alumni and things like this.
Exactly.
Now, I may be premature. If I am, you can tell me. But we've talked about having other type of support ministries for the ARMI ministers. Like if there are problems in their church. Are we premature talking about any of this?
No, I don't think so. That these are things that we want to do down the road some. But I had a wonderful get-together with a psychologist from Greenville, South Carolina. And she specializes in battered and abused persons. And she has consented to provide pro bono services to those in ministry, mental health professionals that are going to provide services, accountants or attorneys that would provide pro bono services for people that really need some help. And so we want to dip into this pool of qualified people out there, godly men and women that have said, I'm willing to help. And so we're starting to collect this pool of people so that down the road we can, if we find out about somebody that's in need in a particular part of the country, then we can contact one of those pool resource people and we can get them together with that individual and provide a lifeline for them. I constantly have people that I run into in meetings and at the Andrew Womack GTRs, our Gospel Truth rallies, that want to start a church. How do I do a 501c3? How do I get this going? You know, and so we want to provide some of those specialized services that are targeted just for people in ministry.
And you know,
we're excited about that.
I've heard statistics that 80% of all churches in America are less than 200 people.
Exactly.
And when you're small like that, you have the same needs of a person that has a large church, but you don't have the same resources.
Exactly.
And you don't have access to all of this stuff. And so the ARMI is trying to step in and provide some of these resources.
We are. Yes.
We've actually talked about, again, I don't know if these are things that are actually implemented, but it's down the road. We're talking about trying to get together information about all of the legal things concerning 501c3. You know, security issues in church has become a problem. And just all kind of counseling type of things, and it just goes on and on and on. So again, the logic or the mindset of our ARMI isn't about what we can get these people to help us do.
Exactly.
we're trying to take all of our resources of a larger ministry and trying to make them available to help these people that are out there. And we really want to do that.
Yeah, we really do. That really is our heart. And so we, like I say, we are in the planning stages of getting everything together that we can start mobilizing some of these resources around. And let me just encourage, I have some wonderful testimonies of that happened in our last February meeting. We had a couple from down near Augusta, Georgia. This is Richard and Rebecca Porterfield, and this is an amazing testimony that they came to the conference and they said it was awesome, that the workshops were such a help that we took what we learned back home and we immediately began to implement it. That is the greatest thing that anybody that is serving in an organization like ours can hear, that we're making a difference. Yep. So they took all of those workshop things that they got from Dean Radke and from Paul Milligan and from Dwayne Sheriff, and they took all that back and they immediately began to implement. But here's an amazing thing. After the conference is over, they drove from Woodland Park to Denver to catch an airplane, to catch a flight back home. And Rebecca went to the restroom and found a lady unconscious, slumped on the floor, not breathing. And so she ran out to tell one of the ticket agents to call for security. And when she went back in, there was another lady that was bent over and said, "She's dead." And so anyway, Rebecca said, she said this, she said, "I knelt down and I said to the lady, in the name of Jesus, life come back into this body." And she said that the woman gasped and that she sat up and she said, "Oh, wow, I must have fallen asleep. I'm so sorry." And she raised her from the dead.
That's awesome.
Right there in the Denver airport restroom.
That's pretty good fruit.
That's an amazing testimony.
That's great.
And then Pastor Steve McIntosh said that from the moment I arrived at the conference, the fellowship and the teaching of the worship ministered to me and refreshed me in every way. And I would encourage any minister of the gospel to become a member of ARMI. And I think that's the jewel of when we come together, is there really is a refreshing. Mm-hmm. There is a rest. There's an impartation. Something really passes from God to them. There's an impartation there, and they take that new anointing back home with them. And so these meetings are really designed to really strengthen and encourage and uplift and to provide what we believe to be not just information, but inspiration and the strengthening to ministers. And here's a great testimony. And there's probably be hundreds of these since we have begun this ministry. And this is Jean Ann and Mike McAnally from Nashville, Tennessee. And he wrote in, he said, "We had the great privilege of being taught by and associate with some of the true generals in God's army. After carefully following Andrew's teaching ministry and attending the ARMI conference, we knew that ARMI was the right association for Ann McNally Ministries." And so they found a place that we were of like mind that they could hook up with and join ARMI and be associated with you and your teaching. As a matter of fact, he said that in 2011 that she was diagnosed with lymphatic leukemia, and that she had really grown physically weaker and weaker and weaker. So in the Phoenix GTS that we had there, January 2012, that they came and you taught on imagination. And he wrote this testimony, and he said that all I could see with my eye was the physical evidence of that disease taking its toll on her body. But when you taught on imagination, he said, I began to see her in my mind fully restored and recovered, and said, because of that, I was able to come into full agreement with her, and today she is healed and whole.
That's awesome.
So it's just the teaching of the Word of God. It is changing lives all over the world.
That's great.
We're excited about that.
Well, we've only got a couple of minutes left,
okay.
But if a person is interested in this, how do they become a member? How do they join? Where do they find out information?
We have a website. It's at ARMI-member, not underscore.
That's ARMI.
ARMI-member.org. And this brochure that has all the information is actually on our website. And so you can go on and all the information, you can fill it out online. It takes just a moment. And we're excited that we are reconfiguring our website now to make way for international members.
Yeah, we call it Association of Related Ministries International, and yet it hadn't been international the first year and a half.
Right.
We had problems with lawyers and different things saying that there was logistics and liability issues, but anyway, we've resolved them, and so now it's truly international.
So they can go right on the website and they can do all they need to do to fill out an application, and then they can be off and running.
And let me just say that if you're watching this, even if you aren't a minister, I'm sure that you know ministers. Hopefully you have a church that you're a part of.
Right.
And share this with your pastor, because again, ministers are always giving out, but not always receiving, and many of them lack the tools and the things necessary. So share this with them, and you could bring them to the Inside Story and tell them to watch this. Even after this Inside Story is not on our website as the featured story of the month, it will be archived, and they can always go back and see this. And we would love to be able to start helping you if you're a minister, or if you have a minister that you could expose to this. We would love to be a part of being God's hand, reaching out to them and helping them to be more effective. So thanks, Barry. I sure appreciate you being with me.
I'm so excited about this.
I know you are.
Yes,
I think everybody could tell that. And so we are excited, and we just are so thrilled with what God is doing and that we're getting to be a part of it. So thank you, and join me again as we have another Inside Story.
During this episode of Inside Story, Andrew talked about the Association of Related Ministries International, ARMI for short. Watch this video and decide if ARMI is for you.
I decided I wanted to join because I really believe in the teachings of Andrew Womack Ministries.
The speakers are excellent.
They send you DVDs. They even give you discounts on things. They just really try to help.
Through ARMI, you have access to a lot of the resources of Charis Bible College. It just adds so much.
The people that are doing it honor Andrew.
It's a great heart. That's what I love about this ministry, a great heart.
The Association of Related Ministries International, ARMI for short, was created from Andrew Womack's desire to provide expertise and resources to help ministers succeed in a spirit of excellence. As a member, you can take advantage of the following benefits: free admission to the annual leadership conference and regional leadership events, featuring world-renowned speakers and leading professionals with an opportunity for networking and fellowship, a value of $60 or more per event, a personal copy of Andrew Womack's exclusive living commentary, a $120 value, your choice of 4 Charis Bible College courses per year, which is a value of $440, and a discount on Charis Bible College Continuing Education for Ministers program for a savings of $600, a monthly teaching chosen especially for ARMI members to equip and encourage you in leadership and ministry, an exclusive subscription to the online ARMI Leadership Journal featuring articles and teaching from top ministry leaders, all for just $360 a year. For a complete list of member benefits and to become a member, go to www.army-member.org and click on Membership Application. Join today and enjoy the benefits and the support ARMI brings to you.
The ARMI is one of the greatest tools to bring people of every denomination together, to share the grace of God.
I would just recommend this to any minister.
And I encourage people to be a part of it because it's truth, and it's based on the Word, and you can't go wrong.
Be sure to look for future episodes of The Inside Story here on the Andrew Womack Ministries website. An episode with Dwayne Sheriff, one with Mike and Carrie Pickett, and AWM board members Bob Nichols and Ron Bird are coming soon. Check back every month for the newest episode of The Inside Story. See you next time